Make those mistakes. It's normal to make mistakes. You must make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, then you're doing it wrong. And stay away from the guys who give you fire emojis on every post. They're not reading the captions.
What was that one thing that really was the aha moment that said that, I want to be a filmmaker? And after that, what kept you going?
So again, that impact, something you do, it can have an impact. And it's great if it does, if it's done in the right way, of course.
How you actually come up with an idea. What's your central theme before you decide to do a film as a director?
There are a gazillion ideas, but basically by the end of it, they've all been done. So it's really about...
Why does stories about animals matter to you so much?
Young male tigers missing. Tigers continue to be hunted down in wildlife sanctuaries. Sultan T72 has been missing from Ranthambore National Park for the past several months.
What are the issues that concern you the most when it comes to the natural world?
I think the scariest one is that we have actually managed to change the chemistry of our oceans.
So what do you think is the solution to this, or we should just give up?
The solution is to give up, but give up the way things have been.
Do you think it's as severe as COVID?
Probably more.
Your father is the Green Oscar winner. What's your role in his work? Thank you, Gautam, for doing this. So I'm building this podcast. It's called Moving Forests with Keshav Sharma. It is for people who want to know more about wildlife. So actually the reason why I wanted to do this podcast was to learn more about wildlife. I want to reach out to people like you who are filmmakers, photographers, guides, naturalists, scientists, and just about anyone who's trying to make a living by being in the wild and creating content or providing employment opportunities through wildlife. I just hope that this could inspire others to take up wildlife as their full-time profession, because right now it's very difficult for someone like me to imagine, how would I monetize it? So I kept thinking about doing something, and then I came up with this idea that I'll just do a podcast where I'll reach out to people who are already doing something and have conversations with them so that I can learn, and through this experience others can also learn.
It's a great idea, I think, because it's definitely a big question mark of how do you actually make a living and survive working with wildlife. It is, India itself is a bit of a challenge, but just wildlife itself, there are so many regulations and only a certain number of opportunities at this point for you to sort of creatively mix, juggle, try to make it different, unique. But I think there are just so many ways that you can do it. But it's also because I think we've kept our view of it or our vision of it quite limited. As in, if it's wildlife, because we're thinking of the forefront always, the visual. But there is so much more and much more that's happening which is non-visual but connected to wildlife.
So tell the audience something about yourself. If you were to introduce yourself to everyone who's listening, what would you tell them?
Well, depending on where I am, I usually call myself a failed musician because I tried for a few years. But I decided, I still do play and I love music. But I loved the visual medium quite a bit. I always was, doing something creatively with visual arts in that sense. So I used to always draw and sketch. And then organically that turned into animation and visual effects. I find myself being able to express much more easily without using words. That realization, I think, once that kicked in, then everything else, found its own spot and place, like music or anything else, was that it's part of who I am. It also is connected to the storytelling that I do, because I'm thinking about audio a lot. And that is because of, I think, this connection with music and sound. So everything, nothing goes to waste. That's what I've learned over the years, whether it's, a random Python scripting coding course that you were forced into as a kid. Not that I was, but there will come a time when a skill you learned, which had no value, it comes in and contributes in some way. It's a path and a journey. And it is a bit of a privilege to allow yourself to go and, go with the flow. kind of thing. I was lucky not to have any duties to fulfill or loans that I had taken and things like that. So I was lucky in that sense. I wasn't even thinking about those things. But if I had, and many people do, that really alters your path, and that becomes quite a challenge, because I speak to a lot of people and try to guide them through trying to build a career, and my passion lies somewhere else, but I have all these responsibilities. How do I wade my way through it? And it's a very real thing to deal with real life and kind of keep passion going at the same time.
You've done so much for different channels like Nat Geo and Doordarshan, and you've done films, you've done independent films on your own. But all you're speaking about is music and how you're an artist. So
unfulfilled dream.
Yeah. What I wanted to actually dig a little bit deeper on, what inspired you to take up filmmaking as a profession and then continue with it? Because inspiration is one thing, we get inspired. As a kid, I was inspired to become a cricketer, but I didn't follow through. And people around you can inspire you. But what was that one thing that really was the aha moment that said that, I want to be a filmmaker? And after that, what kept you going?
I think the aha moment is something which I realized only when I looked back in retrospect, that must have been my aha moment. Because so my father is a filmmaker and he's focused on documentaries and wildlife. It almost feels like by default I've ended up doing that. So if he was making ball bearings, I would have been making ball bearings today. But I don't think it was like that. Mm-hmm. And hence the path into visual effects and animation and music, I think it might have been, the classic, I will not do what my parents do kind of thing. And my mother's also a visual communicator. She's a puppeteer, trained puppeteer, and she uses that to work with, special kids with, disabilities. So I had a very mixed exposure, but communication was the one thread through all of that. And watching change happen through communication. So whether it was with the puppets and watching kids respond and react to it and actually talk about serious things like, like sex education or like women's safety, things like that, but through a puppet. And then for film, my father's film, Shores of Silence, I saw like real impact happen. So I was always involved with my mother and my father's work, in and out, kind of appearing, disappearing, wherever I was needed or whatever drew me in. But this particular film, Shores of Silence, which was on the whale sharks, it had quite a journey, because when he wanted to make the film, it wasn't recognized that the sharks, that the whale sharks even visited India. And so the first task was to prove that they do. And then the fact that they were being slaughtered in India. And then a film on that, which then didn't stop with the film being made. It went on to triggering policy change and laws being passed. So
How old were you back then?
I was, I think, 20-ish, I think, by that time.
So before that, you did not do anything related to filmmaking, or?
No, I did.
You were.
So I used to go on all the shoots, and I was, like most people, I'm only interested in the camera. I didn't believe I could direct at that point. It felt like too much of a responsibility or a thing. So I thought camera is easier. Whatever you see, just try and film it, make it look good, and, build a sequence. But then I started editing quite a bit. And then editing, is like directing, because you're really carving the story out of nothingness. So it was an arc, and I never had any pressure to sort of jump on board and do this or do that. And so I had my own sweet time to kind of find my way. I'm pretty lucky. It's all in retrospect now, of course, that I had that, time and luxury to explore different ways of storytelling, land on this organically, and then find my role now as, like, I mostly direct. I still do shoot, but now I direct more than I shoot. So it's been a journey and a path. But that's the key moment, I would say, is to see impact happen from something that you do. So we've done this series, which is India's longest running series on Doordarshan, called Earth Matters. It's in Hindi, meant for the masses, to really put solid information out there about, from climate change, agriculture, wildlife, There was a couple of episodes on careers and environment as well. And this was, of course, it began pre-cable TV almost, Earth Matters, when it started. So people didn't have much choice but to watch it. But it did, and I know this because once in a while we bump into people on a shoot and they'll say, Earth Matters, I saw it when I was growing up. That's why I've become a zoologist, because of that program I saw. So again, that impact, something you do, it can have an impact. And it's great if it does, if it's done in the right way, of course. So Earth Matters was there. Then there were other films we made on conflict issues in India with elephants, then around the vultures, millions of vultures being brought down to just a few thousand, if at all. Then we did a travel series more recently on the Northeast. Again, over here, we were trying to not just replicate a travel series. And I think this is how we evolved over the years, from targeting policy makers, policy change, which we still do, make films specifically for policy makers to watch, and then take a decision on, a species being protected or given a certain status, to actually just general awareness amongst people. And now I think what we have evolved into is changing the narrative and stereotypes as they exist. So the travel series was one of our first attempts at that. It was in the Northeast. Of course, there are stereotypes, all thanks to our Hindi film industry and, a lot of travel bloggers going out there. It's just this, kaise rehte hain, kaise khate hain, it's all seen through the same lens. So we very consciously pitched it as a show which doesn't exoticize the Northeast. And it's just presented as this is how it is. There is no close-up of silkworms being smoked over the fire, where it's kind of like, oh my God, are they actually going to eat that? So that perspective does not exist in the show at all. And to keep drawing, and all done in a very subliminal way, to draw similarities between, and across the country. So a lot of reactions we got was like, oh, I didn't know that there were coffee shops there, for example. Or there were kids skateboarding over there, or there were like really interesting people who are, writing books and anthropologists. And
I've spent some time in the Northeast. It's amazing. What you see and what you experience is very different.
Yeah.
You're right.
And that was just never brought out because whoever did the first one got the likes, views, or the reactions, said, okay, even I will do the same thing and talk about headhunters or just, slabs of pork or only the hunting. Of course, all these things do exist, but it's not the only things that exist.
Yeah. So which one would be the one that you really loved working on and that changed a few things for you? And why?
I think it would have to be these two we did, which are on air on Animal Planet, at least they are for now. One is Gyamo, Queen of the Mountains, that's on snow leopards, and the other one is Looking for Sultan. This was, I think, again, our first foray into making something entertaining and watchable, because we all watch something to be entertained or, to be entertained actually, pretty much. Whether you're learning something, there's also kind of entertainment, infotainment, that kind of zone. But to always drive our sort of message of conservation and talk about issues, but very quietly woven into the story, so that no one gets bogged down or put off or feel helpless while watching a film. Like, how do I change this world if everything is going down the drain? So these two films were made specifically for broadcast, that a broadcaster would agree to put on because it should appeal to their audience. But it carried this message which we wanted to deliver, is about all the challenges that key species like the snow leopard or the tiger was facing. And it was done in a story format, which I quite liked as well, because it was coming full circle for me and my father as filmmakers together in the film and making a film together for the first time actually.
So both were did together?
Both we did together. Yeah. Both the films we did one after the other. There was supposed to be a third film also which never got made.
Okay. So will it get made?
It's going to be more about, I think, the journey of my father as a filmmaker, because now he's been doing this for 50 years. So I was just thinking about, the same old issues of why are we even doing what we do? Does it even make any difference? And there are these, few wins that have happened, like the laws or impact. But is it too little, too late? Where is it all going to end? I mean, these are the questions that anyone who's working with the environment is constantly thinking of. And you kind of make your peace by saying, I need to pick my corner and just clean that and keep it going. Because it's too complicated, it's too big. You can't deal with all problems at the same time. So I thought a film about that. He still doesn't know about all of it. I'm still writing it. But I will have to really work with him. And that's why I think it'll have to be him and me to really do a deep dive together into why are we even doing, like questioning ourselves. Why are we even doing what we're doing? What's the point of it all?
You're directing it?
We don't even know yet. Maybe I'll be the wrong choice.
Why?
Because I think for him to open up and to get that flow of conversation, I think it may work better if I'm there with him in the frame or off the frame shooting. Like I said, it's still in development, just trying to figure out what's the best way, because it has to be extremely authentic, extremely real. It has to be unlike anything we've done. It's out of our comfort zone. But it's really like holding a mirror to our own faces, and maybe something will come out of it. And what triggered this was actually 30 odd years ago, when he was, or 40 odd years ago, he was working on what would have been one of the first tiger films to ever be made in India. He was with the BBC then. So he'd gone, he'd filmed all these film cans, and he'd sent the footage back. And for whatever reason, the film never got made, but the rushes were there. And then when he asked for them back, they were lost. So there were 24 film cans which were lost.
Oh.
And over the years, he tried to find them again. No luck. Spoke to different people. Someone had moved on. Someone had vanished or whatever. And then when Looking for Sultan was going to happen, we again tried to look for it. And we found someone. They sent back 3 film cans. And only one of them was one of the cans which he had filmed. So we used some of the shots in Looking for Sultan. But the other 2 was like random rushes which didn't belong to us at all. And literally, say about 8 months ago, he got a call from someone he knew from BBC, and she said, Mike, I'm moving houses and I found a box and I opened it, there are 24 film cans in it. And it says, Tigers, do you know what this is? He's like, those are the lost cans. So those cans have now come back to India. So
you have them?
We have them.
Oh, lovely.
So that's what triggered this whole story of, so this is footage from 40 years back of Ranthambore, which is a completely different park now, right? I mean, everything has changed around.
So this had to happen. This is the universe telling you, do something with it.
So that's why this deep dive needs to happen, right? We need to really do it right and really be true to ourselves in the story and figure out what is the story actually.
This is one way of coming to a point where you want to make a film. But if I was to pick your brains on how you actually come up with an idea, because there are so many things that are happening and so many things can be concerning. What's your central theme before you decide to do a film as a director?
I mean, there are...
Or maybe you could share a few points that, your check boxes that you must tick before you decide on a project.
Yeah, I mean, I recently did a chat right now exactly about this, about ideas and coming up with ideas. And there are a gazillion ideas, but basically by the end of it, they've all been done. Right? Even this whole idea I spoke about, trying to figure out what I'm doing, is, this deep dive, a journey basically. It's going to be a journey into ourselves and to where he began as a filmmaker and then me along with him. It's a done idea, right? We've seen some film, not with him or me in it, but with someone, could be even fictional, but it exists already, a film like this, because it's been over 100 years of filmmaking. And broadly, it's agreed upon there are about 10 or 12 themes, large themes, like whatever, love, revenge, the journey, things like that, which are the human themes you all connect with. And they've all been done. Right? I think Mahabharata might have all 12 themes inside, embedded inside. So it's really about how you tell that story. And what will make a difference of how we tell that story is if it's told in your own way, which means you have to say it the way you hear it in your head, or the way you feel when you say it. And that's what will end up making it unique. Especially in wildlife film. And actually, as a bad example, corporate films, which I despise. Someone made a corporate film, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. And then someone saw that corporate film and told someone else who makes films, say, I want to film like this. And they made a film exactly like that. And that started a chain of events where all corporate films pretty much look exactly the same. I'm quite convinced if you gave me 10 films and I took a shot out of each one, it would make a new film. And
But it would look the same.
It would look the same. And it would still be a film. So same way I feel like with natural history, wildlife, there are, an animal's life has only a certain number of challenges, right? You're born, you survive, you need to eat, you need to mate, you need to have babies, they need to survive, you need to protect them, and then you kind of pass on and the circle is complete. Every species, everything is going. So the arc kind of remains the same across the species. So how do you keep changing the way you tell that story? So BBC, of course, nailed it way back then. And it was narrated in that way, where there's a female, she's pregnant, she has these cubs, there's another male that's come, and now there's a threat. And all these things are true. But because it did so well, I feel, and it inspired generations, mine included, and before mine. And we grew so attached to that. And I'm equally guilty of it, of course, is we would just replicate that. Like, this is the way to tell that story. We could not see any other way to tell that story. So I don't know what that other way is, but it must exist. Even the Ramayana has a few different authors, right?
Yeah.
They all try to do it their own way. So
actually, I'm listening to Ramayana these days. So I have this ritual in my day every day where I speak to my mom for 15 minutes. So we exchange hello, hi, and then she would do some yoga for 5 minutes and give me an update on this is what I've done. And then she would read for me. So
nice.
We are at Bharat Milap. Exactly what you're saying. So this is a book where it's the perspective of everyone around Ram and Bharat and how and what they are thinking.
Yeah.
Because there is Sita. And Sita has her mother and father.
Yeah.
And they are thinking that now, since Ram and Sita have gone to the forest and Bharat has found out and he came to the house and saw that his father is passed on, now he's going back to the forest to get his brother and his bhabi back. But then what about Sita's father and mother?
Exactly.
What about the person who's actually there to help Ram survive in the forest? He doesn't know the relationship between Ram and Bharat. What he knows is because of Bharat, Ram has come to the forest. So he's feeling threatened that when he comes, will there be a fight?
Yeah.
But the brothers know that they love each other. So there are so many angles to it. It's amazing.
You just have to lean into that.
Yeah, exactly what you said.
But the key is, again, that it's fine to be inspired. You look at something like, even if hearing something about like this Bharat Milap, oh wow, okay, cool, I'm going to use that idea. I'm going to tell the whole story from the point of view of a spotted deer, but about tigers. So it's fine to be inspired by it. There has to be, again, time given for an idea to evolve and turn into its full potential. It's a simple thought, or a story told from someone else's perspective. Same story from a different perspective. But that particular character or that perspective has to really come from a place where it can't be just a thought. You have to really immerse yourself into that. And then it kind of grows into something beyond. And that's where the whole art of cinema or the art of storytelling, and that's when it starts coming out, right? There is a certain magic out there, unexplained phenomena of storytelling, why we want to hear stories, why are we drawn to them.
Why does stories about animals matter to you so much?
I think because of my formative years, the earlier years, I spent a chunk of it by myself, outdoors, not always in a forest, but just not in the house. Exploring, like I love the monsoons, even in Delhi, there'd be like a gazillion things back in the day. And I would never walk on, like, even if a park had a boundary, I'd never walk on the boundary, but or on the path, but through the jhadis, because there's tons of stuff to always find over there. Being outdoors and the smells and the feeling, everyone connects naturally to animals when they're young. Most people do, unless there's some fear involved. But I think I did have some deep connections with some animals that I met growing up.
Like,
A horse.
oh, where did you get a horse in Delhi?
No, there was no horse in Delhi. So we used to go to Mussoorie. My great-grandfather's house
Okay.
is over there. Mussoorie was a much quieter and more charming place back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lovely guy who used to have a horse over there. They used to do the ghoda rides and stuff. And he was an especially kind man with a lovely horse. It was basically a tattoo by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a very gentle horse. And I used to feed it and take, chana and good for it and kind of walk along with it and ride it once in a while. So I think I just liked so the smell of horses, even the poop and the pee and just the horse smell is like cocaine for me.
Oh.
It's like, I'm like totally, oh my God, I smell a horse.
Mm.
So I think that's one of and I was quite young then.
Do you also ride a horse?
No, I don't really ride like
Okay.
that. And I don't know if I agree with riding and things like that. But yeah, I mean, that's a different conversation, I guess. Using animals for work and the world has changed. We need to change along with it.
So what are the issues that concern you the most when it comes to the natural world?
I think the biggest concern is, like everyone has, is that we are going to be left with little pockets. And we know for a fact that what a large unbroken forest can provide, little pockets can't. I think the scariest one is that we have actually managed to change the chemistry of our oceans. Our planet is ocean. It's a water planet. And we have managed to change that. And the projections are insane. By 2053, there's going to be more bits of plastic in the ocean than fish.
Oh my God.
So it's just, it sounds like it's all made up stuff, right? It's like science fiction, except it's happening. And it's true.
Everything which was there in science fiction happened with us in the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's happening.
Yeah.
And, even say COVID, suddenly people start talking about microplastics are in fish. And then they said, microplastics are in mother's milk or in your blood and stuff like that. And now literally if you just Google microplastics, if we go to a store, if we buy any fish or even pieces of meat, it's because microplastics are everywhere. They could come into your packaging from the packaging in, and you look at it, there could be, probably are bits of microplastic already there. So we are ingesting it. It's like, this is the reality now. Climate change, or even say COVID, when it was coming out, they were like, this is not going to happen, it's not happening. It's only then boom. Then it's accepted as reality for the most part.
So what do you think is the solution to this, or we should just give up?
Well, we can't give up. The solution is to give up, but give up the way things have been going. And it's not going to be a popular choice. Lifestyles have to change dramatically and drastically, where real implementation of laws, it's all greenwashed. We've banned whatever micron of single-use plastic or straws have got banned and stuff like that. But if you still go to the beach right now, you'll get a straw. It's banned, but you'll get it. Someone's making it. I think it's at that point where a very strict ban has to come in first, and then the empathy and people's understanding can come after that. We don't have that luxury of let people understand, because people have to make that choice. It has to come from them for it to work. I would have said this maybe even 2 years back, that if we can make the people understand that they shouldn't use straws, that's where the win is, and then it'll stop. But I think it's so bad. Right now it has to be like, that danda wala kind of stuff.
Do you think it's as severe as COVID?
What?
This, the plastic issue?
Probably more. People aren't dying of plastic like that, but it's everywhere. The plastic issue. We've put plastic in space as well. It's in the deepest part of our ocean. So at the highest point on the planet, on Everest. It's inside our blood. It's severe.
We all know that your father is the Green Oscar winner, and also he's done so much work and such amazing work. How you are contributing to his work, and what's your role in his work, because you are living under the same roof and working together sometimes. Sometimes he's working on a different project. So I'd like to understand your father-son dynamic, and as filmmakers, as directors, how is it? And I'm sure a lot of people would like to know about your relationship with him as a content creator.
A while back, someone asked me, like, so you work with your dad? And I was like, yeah, I do. He's like, and you guys get along? Like, yeah, I guess I haven't even thought about it if we get along or not. I guess because we always got along. Wasn't really an issue. And I think the first half of my career was just watching him work and being there with him and kind of filling in the blanks. Maybe I was more in touch with the next trend or whatever the next, like whatever, drones or doing 5.1 sound mixes and stuff like that to keep upping the production quality and value of the films. I think that's where my focus may have been. And then what he always spoke about was the story. Gradually, I think that's where I've now found both worlds. His world where he's constantly thinking like a director. And for me, it's like trying to engage audiences as well at the same time. So keeping things fresh and new. But again, the story being the core element. Like without a good story, I wouldn't even use that tech for anything. So I think that's where I've found my spot with him. So if it's something that he's doing specifically, I will try and say, let's try to do it like this or do it like that.
From the technical standpoint.
Technical, or say going beyond the film, like let's do it differently this time. Let's engage with this. Let's do a second thing after the main film is over. Let's just create a VR experience for people to just enjoy,
And he agrees to your suggestions every time?
Yeah, for the most part, I think he would.
Oh, nice. You're lucky.
I am lucky, yeah.
I had a tough time convincing my dad when I was a kid. Everything that I would say, he'd say, I know better.
Yeah.
I tried working with him, but your friend was right. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea working with your father.
Yeah, I mean, it comes with its challenges, but now I think so there can't be two directors on one thing. That's the lesson I learned, at least, even while working with Doyle. And we've had to work our way through this. Let's do it together. Why can't we do it together? And then you realize that it's best if there's one director, because you do need that one captain of the ship saying, this is the vision I have in my head. And then you kind of not take a step back, but you kind of stand alongside and support and aid that vision and believe in it. I mean, that's the other key. You have to believe in that vision to do it without having fights. If you don't believe in it, then you shouldn't be there.
So my next question was going to be that, because you come from a family of creative people. Like your mother is an artist, your father is an artist, you're married to an artist, you are an artist. And they say that, you can have a good time with other artists, but living with them can be very challenging because all of you are constantly thinking about things that you want to create. So how does it work actually? Because to make a relationship work, it's a lot of hard work, and for some people it's not, it's very organic. But then you are struggling with a lot inside you because you want to bring something to surface which only you can see. And sometimes, like you rightly said, even your partner can't see it. So how do you tackle these challenges? And what are some of the things that you could tell people that would help them to maintain a cordial relationship, at the same time get the message across, especially when it comes to content creation, filmmaking? Because not only in relationships, even on sets, even when you're working with a team, this challenge can come. But then when you're living with people who you're working with, it's next level because you can't shut off.
No, you can't shut off. And especially with, any creative field, there is no off button. You're constantly thinking and processing. So I think we all lead very individual lives as well. We'll have maybe one meal together in the day, but everyone has their own routine, their own set of priorities. There are overlaps with friends and family, but everyone is pretty much doing their own thing. And there are of course times when you feel let down by the other person. Like, I really wanted to go see whatever, Black Panther or whatever it might be. And there's some other commitment that's happened. So there is the usual ups and downs and juggling and stuff like that. But the larger picture is that, because to feel satisfied is very important to do your own work as well. To not be constantly working on someone else's vision. If you are in that directorial kind of a zone, right? I mean, so there are roles in this whole field, like, whether it's cinematography or editing or ton of post work, where it's more about the whole trip is to make someone's vision come to life. So directors can be very vague. I don't know, I see this, something like this. No, not quite like that. Yeah, like that, but a bit more. Just vague feedback. So for the person to understand, say, what is that feedback? How can I translate it into their vision? And then when you get it there, that's the whole trip. That's the payback, and that's the role that you want. But if you get into this whole driving the ship creation kind of zone, that's tricky water. There's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of self-doubt. There's what's very popular now known as imposter syndrome. You feel like you're faking your way through it. You've been lucky so far and just kind of managed. It'll look awful, it'll look terrible. So that's all part and parcel of the deal. To have issues, self-doubt, wonder whether you're on the edge of mental health or not, argue, yeah, that's it. You just have to accept that and realize it, that this is whatever you're feeling right now is not going to stay forever.
What do you do to keep yourself free from all the stress of work?
I've tried meditating a bit. It does help, but I'm just no good at being consistent with it. But whenever I do it, it does help. Even a short session, even 5 minutes.
It totally does.
It's amazing how quickly it can reboot you or calm you down.
So what do you meditate on?
I just focus on my breathing and try to not fight thoughts, but just observe it, accepting a thought or a fear suddenly gives it a little more clarity. And then a recent one was, if whatever problem or issue that you have, work-wise or with yourself, if you can write it down clearly on a piece of paper, half of it goes away. Because now you've actually given it a physical form or shape. It's not ambiguous anymore. So I haven't tried that one yet. But for stress, I think music, playing guitar or things like that. And then, of course, binge watching just absolute garbage like Bollywood Wives. And
I'd love to do another episode with you where, maybe you could play some guitar for us.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay. The very first time I met you, I saw that huge drone. I think more than a decade back.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to some of the people that know you. Everybody knows you as this techie who knows just about everything about cameras and,
Really?
who is so fascinated about technology. Yeah, I was speaking to Sonia. She was like, you should ask him about where does he get this from. So since childhood, have you been, drawn towards technology, trying to understand and figure out things, or is it a new thing? Or was it because of work that you wanted to do a better job at it, so you thought you'd figure it out?
I don't know, and I don't know how this tech thing came to be, but I think people do think. I don't know everything at all, not even close to it.
But you did make that drone when nobody was really talking about drones. Where did the idea of making a drone come from? Did you see something online, or what was it?
I actually I was thinking of what I would like to add visually, and it was aerial shots to our films. And the option was hot air balloons. I was like, it's too big, too expensive, it's not going to work. So what are the other options? Then, I sort of reached parasailing, then paramotors. I spoke to a guy about a paramotor. He said, we can build one together. You don't even need a license for it. It's a motorcycle engine. It's the one with the big fan at the back. So you can actually drive it. I said, okay, but if I'm riding it, then how will I shoot? I said, okay, that may not work. And so that kind of led me down to the remote control world, where at that time there were no drones actually. There were these usually helicopters, or fixed wing as they're called, very, very difficult to master and get to it. People had begun sort of mounting cameras on that just for, low-res kind of cameras. So I spent a year basically kind of researching that and trying to figure out which one to get. Then I figured out I'll have to build one, so I started learning about how to build your own fixed wing, got into the whole RC community in Delhi, made some friends.
RC is what?
Remote control or whatever. Vehicles. Then I think that was the first year. There was a company called Microcopter, a German company, which brought out an online shop where you could buy these parts and then make your own drone, depending on what you want to do with it. So I knew that at that point I was using the 5D Mark II. That was that was the lightest camera that we'd be able to put on a drone, and that was about 2 kilos. The drone that I would build would have to be able to lift 2 kilos, including its own weight. So the total weight of the drone was about 8 kilos. And it had a giant battery along with it and stuff like that. So I started putting all the things into my cart one by one, spoke to them, I'm trying to do this, what should I do? So they started guiding us, and they put a kit together for me. And then I thought I'd take 2 months to put the whole thing together, but that took another year again to slowly, because it was such a pain getting all the parts in that I didn't want to screw anything up and destroy something. So I went really slow and carefully testing each thing at every point.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, it's there.
Where? In Delhi?
In Delhi. I've decommissioned it because it had this total flight time of 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous now.
So now you would have other drones, right? Which one are you using now?
Now we're using the Mavic 2.
Okay.
The DJI Mavic 2.
And that's good enough for your work.
It's great. It's amazing. We'll probably upgrade to the Mavic 3 with the next project. So that's what I do actually. With tech is the project has to need it or want it, and then I make my move. So I won't buy, say, the Mavic 3 unless the next project really needs it. And that's how I base my decisions. But, I've always liked tech. I think I liked opening things up and putting them back together. Earliest thing I would think is, back in the VHS tape days, went to rent one for 10 rupees, some movie, got chewed up in the VCR, opened up the VCR, took it out.
And fixed it. I think all of us have done that once at least.
And then I was left with these extra screws this one time. And I didn't know where they would go and extra parts, but I put it in and it still worked. So I was like, oh my God. So
I'm an engineer now.
Yeah. I've improved the design. But I don't know what happened to the tape after that. It probably didn't work.
You've done a lot of shows in the recent past, especially Snake SOS and Guess the Poop. And you've done a VR film on the snow leopard as well. Which one would you like to talk about? Also, tell people where they can find your work, where they can follow you, for people who are starting out, that you'd want them to keep in mind, or mistakes that you have made that you not want them to make. It's a very loaded question, but I'd like to just give you some time to think around these lines, and because what worked for you may or may not work for them, but definitely the mistakes you made will help people understand that they shouldn't make these mistakes.
Okay, which one do you want me to do first?
You can start with your shows.
Shows, yeah. So Guess the Poop was so fun because
I loved it.
Yeah, there are people who hated it also.
Why?
Lost followers. Gross, yeah. Everyone poops. Because when we're out in the field and you're not always seeing animals, but you do see footprints and tracks and poop. And that's one of the way you track animals as well. And
I think what it did for me is that it made me think differently, because now when I go, I look at the floor and I see. And that's something that we never paid attention to. It was always there. But if you've seen the show and if you can recognize it, you'd know that, something is around. Maybe I should pay a little closer attention. And that could be the reason why you get a shot.
Poops tell the whole story. Not only was it around, it was eating something. Could have been eating right there, or ate somewhere else and came here and then pooped. And then the poop is like a little signature left for something else to come and sniff around, and then maybe something else happened. And then, of course, if you do a little more of a dive into the poop and start, do it with a stick, not your finger, open it up, and there are more clues in there as to what it ate.
I think absolutely. It's there for everyone. And we all poop, like you rightly said.
Yeah. And all poop, especially wildlife poop, is not stinky. It's not like human poop. Tiger poop, of course, is beyond the charts. Stinky.
I think all
Meaty
cats
thing.
have that.
Yeah. Cats, like, oof. Next
You
level.
just can't, yeah.
And bear poop was also very bad.
Okay.
But yeah, that was again a way to kind of engage people and not. I got very tired of, Instagram, my feed kind of being just these mug shots and headshots of the same animals again and again and again. Each one trying to, compete with the next. I said, but there's so much more to see and share and talk about and, just kind of appreciate the whole package instead of just. I think things like that is what also, like, just focusing on the key species is what starts a chain of messing things up. Like, that's when you go to a national park, it's all focused around the tiger. Most people there, I would say 98% are there only to get that shot. It's super competitive between the drivers, between the jeeps, between tourists in separate cars. Sometimes when we are filming, tourists and the filming jeep as well, because everyone's on equal plane there. के हमने भी पैसे दिए हैं, हमको भी देखना है, or whatever. So it's this weird zone. So I kind of reject it somewhere in my head. I'd rather not go to a national park and film.
Mm-hmm.
And this is sort of my way of kind of looking away, turning away and saying that while you look at the tiger or whatever, I'm going to look at everything else. Yeah.
That's a great way of looking at it. Like you said, this show is proof that you're looking at things differently.
Mm.
You're bringing your own perspective to the world, and that's great.
Yeah. I think it was interesting for me as well because I got to learn a lot. I mean, I didn't always know what poop it is. But to actually research and figure out, and sometimes it's only poop you see. And that's the only way to identify some animal. Because, even the tracks can be smudgy, they could be days old and they change shape, so you don't know whose it was.
Mm-hmm. And what about, what suggestions you'd have for people who are starting out? And would you recommend, youngsters to take up wildlife as a profession, as a full-time profession and do nothing else? Or
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit difficult. So I would say if you already have a job and you are earning a nice chunk, you don't have a loan, this is the time you make that saving. And then I would say begin more slowly. Take 3 months off, work as a naturalist or with a naturalist, or do a naturalist course, intern somewhere. And it's not going to happen just because you want it. You'll have to build a relationship for that to eventually happen. So you have to start making connections. The thing with connections is that they have to be genuine. You have to be genuinely interested in people and what they are doing and wanting to be part of it. So there are two types of people that usually approach me. One is like, I want. And the second is, how can I be part of this and how can I help? And they are the ones who also know that they will learn eventually just by the process of being there. The I want one is in more of a rush. Is I want to take and I want to go and do my own thing. That's fine too. That's your own path and journey. But how many opportunities open up? If that's the energy you put out, I'm not too sure. But you have to be ready for a lot of no's and maybes. But it all eventually leads to many yeses if you do it authentically and in a genuine way. And again, it doesn't have to follow anyone's career path. So and so was an engineer, so am I, and now they're a tour operator. I'll do the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's wide open now, right? It could be anything. Mm-hmm. But to question why you really want to do it, if it's just wanting to be out in the wild, so I'll ask, interns as well who want to come, why do you want to do this? I love being out in the wild. So you can go on a trip twice a year, thrice a year to be out in the wild. Why do you want to be out there in the wild and do what? So I think once they start answering those deeper questions, then they know what's their motivation and they can really come up with better answers for themselves. Actually, not for anyone else, but for themselves.
Yeah, sometimes you don't even know what you want, but it's only when you spend time and then you figure it out.
Yeah. And make those mistakes. It's normal to make mistakes. You must make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, then you're doing it wrong. And stay away from the guys who give you fire emojis on every post. They're not reading the captions.
True.
Thank you.
That was amazing. So if you want if you want to share your handles and your website.
Mostly active on Insta, Facebook, reluctantly, maybe going back to it. So Riverbank Studios, our company, has a page on Facebook, and I have a page on Facebook. I sometimes post on that, but Insta mostly. We have a YouTube channel called the Mike Pandey channel, and that's where we put our longer duration stuff. That's where I'm putting the VR films now. Just experiments that I'm just doing. So I shoot a lot with my phone now, just to kind of see what I can do with it. So that'll go on Insta as well as usually YouTube.
What about if someone wants to work with you? Is there a way for them to intern with you or reach out to you for collaboration or any kind of work?
Yeah.
I mean, there can be a yes or a no to this answer, but if yes, then, what's the way of doing it?
There is. We definitely do take on interns. We only take them on when there is active work going on. It's very rare if there's not. There's always something going on, but both Doel and I and my father, we like it when it's a very fruitful, not just a fruitful, but a very fruitful experience for an intern, because this is the make or break time for someone who's trying it out, testing it out. And that's why we interview that. If they truly feel so it's not a career, it's a lifestyle is what I usually say. This filmmaking, documentary, wildlife, it's the life you're choosing now. It's not going to be a 9 to 5. You're not going to have weekends off. You're not going to have the latest iPhone for sure, right? So if you're ready for this lifestyle and commit to it, then this is the opportunity for you to then really push yourself, absorb, learn. And then we'll ask them, what are your expectations from this internship? At the end of it, what must you feel like you've already learned now or observed? So we're quite picky with it, depending on the project and the kind of internship that is possible with it.
So you reach out to them, or there is a way for them to reach out to you?
They reach out usually on Insta now, I guess, messaging or on my email, my Riverbank's email.
Great. Amazing talking with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming down.
My pleasure.